Hi everybody, it's Mr. E from Art with Mr. E with another art project for you all. Today I thought we would work on some watercolor painted paper using different painting techniques. So I wanted to show you a few different techniques. You'll need some watercolor. My favorite is Prang, but you can use any watercolor that you have. You need a bowl of water and a brush and some paper. Now I like to rinse my brush out because you never know if there might be a little bit of paint left in it from before. So you have a nice clean brush, and then you come over, and watercolor is a concentrated paint, and you have to add water to make it work. And we want our water to be watery, our watercolor to be watery today. So, I mean, I could have started with just either like a spray bottle and misted my paper, or I could just take a brush before I get any color, but I knew I wanted to do this paper a blue, or blues, and purples. So I thought I'd go ahead and just use some pigment in my brush right off the bat. So I put the color down, and then I'm going to sprinkle some salt. Just some regular table salt that you have at your house that you use in your food. Now, for this to work, you gotta move kind of fast. Now, you don't need to drench this. I maybe put a little bit too much. But you gotta move kind of fast, because if you don't, your paper is gonna start absorbing all that color, and then these techniques that we're using are not gonna be effective. So, by putting the salt on top of the very wet paint, and you'll know your paint is wet because it'll be shiny. If your paper is not shiny from the water, then you have waited too long and it's dried, it's absorbed into your paper. So anyway, I sprinkled the salt on top, and what happens is that salt pools the water and leaves pigment behind. It leaves the color behind. So it's going to make kind of almost like a starry galaxy kind of effect. It's kind of cool. It really is a beautiful technique to try. And then I'll just move that over to dry. I'm going to get my next piece to show you another technique. Rinse my brush out. This time I think I'm going to use red. Oops, I need more water. Just like with the salt technique, you need to make sure that you're using plenty of water. If you have a little spray bottle, just give it a mist, and then you can go ahead and start putting your paint on. This is a wet on wet type of technique. That just means you're putting wet paint on wet paper. So the color kind of floats. And then I'm just going to get a little bit of orange. Put some orange in there. Now the next thing I'm going to use is wax paper. Now, use wax paper for baking. And if you don't have wax paper, that's okay. I like using wax paper. That was really too much of wax paper for this, but that's okay. Parchment paper would work as well if you have parchment paper at home. So I'm just kind of rubbing my hand over it, kind of creating some little pockets and air bubbles in there. You can lift it up a little bit if you want and kind of wrinkle your paper in there. But you want to do this quickly too, because once it starts drying, you can't really do much else. Okay, so you just press that in there, and you got to give that time to dry. So we'll move that off to the side. Get my next paper for our next technique. Rinse the orange out of my brush. I'm gonna put some water down. Now I'm putting water down first because I'm gonna put black on this. Black is a very, 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 very strong color, and I'm afraid I will have too much on my paper, and it will not allow the next technique to shine through. So I've put purple into this as well. There we go. In this technique, I'm using plastic wrap. Just some good old plastic wrap out of your kitchen. But if you don't have plastic wrap, you could use a plastic grocery bag if you have any of those at your house. Any kind of plastic would really work. And I'm just kind of crunching up the plastic wrap on top, like this. And then I'll just push that over to the side and let it dry. Ooh, we have one more technique I almost forgot about. Get my brush. I'm gonna get some blue. I really like that black and that purple together. I think I might put some black with my blue. All right, I just got some water, because remember we want our color to kind of float on the surface of the paper, so these techniques work. If it is too dry, it will not work. So this is bubble wrap. Now this is not like normal bubble wrap. This came out of some package we got in the mail. If you have the little small bubble wrap, by all means use that. And what might help also is if you take a book and lay on top, or like a plate or a pan, something that will put just a little bit of pressure on the bubbles so that they stay in contact with the paper. All right, I'm going to set this off to the side. Now, I wanted to show you some papers I have already done. This is the bubble wrap. Now, it got moved around a little bit, but do you see all the little dots? And some of them have kind of like a white halo of a dot around it. It just kind of creates a neat texture. If you use the small bubble wrap, it almost looks like a honeycomb, which is really cool. This is the saran wrap, so we'll peel that off for the reveal. Ooh, ah, I love that. That looks so cool. All right. Here is the saran wrap. You might remember I told you that it tends to look paler. Even though I put that extra color in there, it still looks pale. Something about that saran wrap, or the wax paper does that. It's the wax paper. Not sure. Still cool though. And then our last picture is our salt. Now this is still a little bit wet. I just did this one. So it's still a little bit wet, but you can kind of see these bubbly galaxy kind of looking formations that are happening on it. It's very cool. All right, so what do you do once you've done that with your paper? Well, you can make a collage. This is a painted paper collage. We've been doing fish, but I thought the turtle would be pretty fun to do. And I've already cut out these shapes and glued them down. I used two different papers that I used different painting techniques on for my background. The stripes here are the saran wrap, and you can see the dots from the bubble wrap below. That's my base paper. Now, if you want to use a solid piece of construction paper or cardstock, whatever you might have at your house, by all means, please do that. Now, when you cut out the pieces, it's always good to save the extra so that you can make other things with it. I thought it would be super cool to add some seaweed in our picture. And seaweed comes in all kinds of different forms, or sea plants of sorts. There's kinds that look like tall blades of grass, like this. And there's kinds that look kind of like leafy. And that takes a little bit more time to cut out. I'll do a little one. Like this. But it's good to save these extra pieces because you can make things with them. And it's such beautiful paper. Like, why would you want to throw that away? I don't know. Now keep in mind whenever you're applying glue, especially on paper that's been painted, because paper that's been painted, it wants to curl. Do you see how this paper is kind of curling up on the edge? It kind of wants to curl. So you want to make sure you use enough glue so that it stays down, but you don't want to use so much that it sneaks out the edges. You might remember from the Colograph video that glue is our ninja of art supplies. It doesn't want to be seen. It does its job and gets out of the way. So we just make sure that that's down. Put a little glue. And I'll put that down. Now, if it's completely dry, everything's done, you've glued it all down, it's fabulous, it's wonderful. What might be a good idea to do is to flip your paper over and lay a book on it overnight. And that will help to get it straightened out so that it lays flat. But if you put it in a frame anyway, it doesn't really matter because the glass will help hold it down. You can go back into your picture with more paper if you like to create designs on the shell, make the eyes, or if you want to go back in and use marker or crayons or color pencils, whatever you want to use to make the most amazing underwater turtle you've ever made. Just do it. All right? I hope you've had a fun time watching these different watercolor techniques and that you're going to try them at your house. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.